The laugh was sharp, too sharp. Stephen Colbert leaned back in his chair, smirking, waiting for the applause to swallow his jab. Pam Bondi didn't flinch. She let the silence stretch like she was measuring something deeper than the insult. Then came her reply. One line, calm, precise, devastating. The studio gasped, then laughed. With her, not at her. Colbert blinked. His rhythm broke. The band didn't play. The cue card guy hesitated. Pam just smiled. And in that single moment, everything flipped. The host known for cornering guests got caught standing still. And a woman who wasn't supposed to win the room did live, unedited, broadcast to millions. And by morning, the world wasn't talking about the joke. They were talking about her. What did she say? Why did it hit so hard? And how did one unexpected comeback turn late-night comedy into a cultural turning point? You're about to find out. Pam Bondi walks into every room with the quiet confidence of someone who's been underestimated her entire career. Former prosecutor, media firebrand, unapologetic. She doesn't soften her edges for applause, and that makes people uncomfortable. Some call her sharp, some call her dangerous, but everyone agrees. When she speaks, people listen. Stephen Colbert, he doesn't just own the stage, he defines it. A late-night icon who made satire a weapon and built an empire on laughter and wit. Politicians fear him, celebrities play along. His charm disarms, then dismantles. He's not just a host, he's the cultural referee. Their paths weren't just bound to cross, they were destined to collide. One controls the mic, the other doesn't need one. And when Colbert invited her onto his turf, it looked like another headline in the making. But what followed wasn't scripted, and it didn't go his way. The invite looked routine. A standard booking slot on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Promotional circuit. Primetime banter. Bondi's team hesitated, knowing the game, knowing the tone. But Pam, she said yes without blinking. I don't go to be liked, she said. I go to be heard. The night arrived. Polished lights. Warm crowd. Standard applause. Colbert welcomed her with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. The first few questions, predictable. Light jabs. She parried with ease. Then came the turn. Colbert leaned in. You've made a career out of defending unpopular people, he said, smiling. Is that a strategy, or just a talent for picking the losing side? Laughter erupted, not from her, not from the side of the stage where her team sat frozen. Pam waited, one beat, then another, and then she answered, calm, measured. Stephen, she said. Some of us defend people who don't already have a studio behind them. Silence. Then, laughter again. But this time, different. It rolled toward her. It stayed with her. Colbert raised an eyebrow. The smile faded, just slightly. His rhythm disrupted. He reached for a card, lost his place, and fumbled through the next line. The audience felt it. So did the crew. A momentum shift, subtle, but seismic. Pam didn't lean in. She didn't gloat. She just sat back and let the weight of her words settle. By the next morning, the clip had hit 6 million views. TikTok duets, Twitter threads, headlines like, Bondi burns Colbert, without raising her voice. Who really won that interview? When the joke backfires, people dissected her tone, the timing, the delivery, but the truth? It wasn't just about what she said. It was who said it. And how effortlessly she let the moment land. The power dynamic of late night had cracked, not shattered, not exploded, just shifted. And that shift would only deepen. Within hours, the internet turned into a battlefield. Clips of the exchange flooded every feed. Some edited it for laughs. Others slowed it down frame by frame, analyzing Bondi's expression, Colbert's stumble, the moment the audience switched allegiance. Hashtags exploded. Bondi strikes back. Colbert caught off script. Studio shift late-night fans defended him. It was just a joke, they insisted. But something was different this time, because this time, the joke didn't land. And for the first time in a long time, Colbert didn't have the last laugh. The next night he addressed the moment. A wink, a shrug, a self-deprecating quip. She got me, he admitted. But the tone didn't land. The laughter wasn't full. The rhythm was off. Pam, on the other hand, said nothing. No reaction tweets, no press appearances, no follow-up interviews, just silence. And somehow that silence said more than any monologue could. The media didn't know what to do with it. Articles started questioning Colbert's approach. A few brave voices asked, "Have we turned interviews into traps?" Old segments resurfaced. Guests flustered, guests mocked. Edits that once felt funny, now felt rehearsed, calculated. Suddenly, the charm that once disarmed began to feel like a mask. And Pam's calm response, it felt like a mirror. Then came the editorial headlines. The Bondi moment. When late night got real. What happens when the guest doesn't play along? And the tipping point? An unexpected statement from a former Colbert staff writer. Anonymous, but sharp. We knew when a guest couldn't fight back. That was the point. It spread like wildfire. Podcasts dissected it. Reaction videos took sides. Comment sections turned into war zones. Meanwhile, Pam kept quiet. And in her silence, people filled in the blanks. She wasn't just composed. She was deliberate. She wasn't playing defense. She was letting the story build itself. Each day, new voices emerged. Some from media, some from politics. Even fans of the show admitted something had cracked open. A week later, Bondi was invited back for a second sit-down. This time, she had all the leverage. And she said yes, but not for revenge, for clarity, for something Colbert and everyone watching wasn't prepared for. Because now the room wasn't just watching a guest. They were watching a reckoning unfold in real time. 3 days before the second interview, a clip leaked. Not from the show, not from official cameras. It was raw audio, recorded backstage, moments after Bondi's first appearance. Colbert's voice, unmistakable, filtered through studio chatter. "She thinks she won, please. That was charity airtime," he muttered. Then laughter. Crew members, writers, the sound of someone clapping sarcastically. But then, one more line. Quiet, sharp. "She's clever, but clever doesn't last when you're not in on the joke." It was the kind of sentence you couldn't explain away. It wasn't witty. It wasn't satire. It was personal. And now it was public. The internet detonated. Not just conservative circles, not just Bondi supporters, everyone. Headlines roared. Leaked Colbert audio backfires badly. Bondi's calm wins again, without saying a word. Late night elitism exposed. Colbert's team scrambled. A brief statement followed. Private comments taken out of context. "We respect all our guests." But the damage was done. The illusion had cracked. The king of commentary wasn't just rattled. He was revealed. Pam Bondi once again said nothing. No tweets, no press, no gloating. She confirmed attendance for the second appearance and walked in like someone who didn't come to settle scores, but to let them settle themselves. The crowd was quiet this time. Not tense, not hostile, just alert. Colbert tried to open warm. Casual. "I think we both know how quickly things spiral online," Colbert said, managing a polite grin. A moment out of context. A line taken the wrong way. Suddenly it's a movement. Pam didn't smile, didn't blink. "Then maybe," she said softly. "The problem isn't the movement. Maybe it's the moment." A pause. Thick. Heavy. Colbert shifted in his chair. The audience didn't laugh. They listened. Pam continued, voice unwavering. "You said clever doesn't last if you're not in on the joke," she said, referencing the leaked audio without naming it. She looked directly at him. "I wasn't supposed to be in on the joke. I was supposed to be the joke." Gasps rippled across the audience. But she wasn't finished. "I came here the first time knowing exactly how it would go. You'd throw the jab. I'd laugh politely. You'd win the room." She leaned in now, just slightly. But the room changed. That line landed like a blow. Colbert sat still. For the first time in years, words failed him. Pam didn't gloat. She didn't monologue. She let the silence breathe. And for once, Colbert's studio felt less like a stage and more like a courtroom, one where the jury had already made up its mind. Viewers at home posted the moment instantly. Comments flooded in. She just dismantled him without raising her voice. This wasn't an interview. It was a reckoning. She owned the room by refusing to perform. The power was no longer in Colbert's punchlines. It was in Bondi's precision. And from that moment forward, the public knew the balance had broken. And it wasn't going back. In the following days, silence fell over late-night television. Clips from Pam's second appearance dominated every platform. The now famous line, "I wasn't supposed to be in on the joke," "I was supposed to be the joke," was replayed with the weight of a verdict. Colbert's response, muted. No witty spin, no snarky monologue, just a noticeably shortened opening the next night, and a generic, awkward attempt to pivot away from the conversation entirely. But the audience wasn't ready to move on. Critics, who once treated Colbert's jabs as gospel, began asking difficult questions. Has late night lost touch? What happens when comedy punches down and nobody laughs? Is the Bondi moment a sign of cultural exhaustion with curated satire? Then, another crack. An anonymous blog post from a former Late Show segment producer surfaced, detailing the meticulous crafting of gotcha moments in interviews, the algorithms, the edits, the traps disguised as conversations. "I left," they wrote, "because we stopped talking to people and started performing at them. It wasn't an expose, it was a confession, and it hit hard." Network execs went quiet. A scheduled book release by Colbert's publisher was postponed indefinitely. Media coverage turned clinical. Pam Bondi still didn't speak. She gave no interviews. Instead, she posted one quiet sentence to her social channels. "Silence, when deserved, is louder than applause." It was her first and last public comment on the matter, and yet it traveled further than any monologue, trending for days. Meanwhile, the very structure of Colbert's show began to wobble. Ticket requests dropped. Writers pushed for a change in tone. Segments were canceled or quietly rewritten. Behind the scenes, producers debated, do we keep doubling down or do we evolve? Because for the first time, the audience wasn't laughing with them. They were watching them, waiting, judging. And in this new light, the crown didn't seem so polished. The man who once owned the night was now a shadow in it. Pam hadn't taken him down. He did that himself. She simply stopped playing the part he'd written for her, and in doing so, rewrote the whole room. Just when the narrative felt complete, Pam poised, Colbert diminished. Something unexpected happened. A video surfaced, old, grainy, dated nearly 2 decades back. Pam Bondi, then a young state attorney standing outside a courthouse. No cameras swarming her, no publicist. Just a local news crew and a single reporter. She had just lost a case, a tough one, and the reporter asked, casually, cruelly, if she regretted failing in front of so many people. Pam paused, visibly stunned, then answered, "Number because I didn't come here to perform. I came here to stand up." The clip was forgotten until now. Someone posted it with the caption, "She's been doing this for years. We just never looked closely." It went viral overnight, and suddenly the narrative deepened. Pam wasn't just someone who won a viral exchange. She was someone who had always known the cost of being underestimated, and had carried that weight with quiet resilience. Journalists revisited her early interviews, local cases, old speeches. What they found wasn't arrogance. It was consistency. Even former critics admitted this wasn't luck. It was long-earned composure. Then came the message that sealed the twist. An open letter, public, signed by a comedian once mocked by Colbert on his show years earlier. It read, "I thought I was the only one who walked away from that stage feeling small. Turns out, I wasn't." Pam Bondi didn't just speak for herself. She spoke for every guest who didn't clap back but swallowed it. This time, the audience clapped for the right person. The internet rallied again. Not with outrage this time, but reflection. This wasn't just about a moment. It was about a pattern. And Pam, she wasn't just the woman who outwitted Colbert. She had become the unexpected voice of quiet dignity. A reminder that sharp words aren't always the loudest. Sometimes they're the ones spoken slowly and remembered forever. The cultural ripple effect didn't end in the studio. In the weeks following Pam Bondi's second appearance, late-night shows across the board began shifting their tone. Less sarcasm, fewer stage setups, more open-ended questions. Because now, audiences were watching how the questions were asked and why. A media think tank published a report titled "The Bondi Effect: When the Guest Controls the Room." It detailed how public trust in late-night satire had dipped nearly 14% in under a month. Not because the jokes were bad, but because the jokes had stopped feeling honest. Colbert's team issued a longer, more personal statement. He admitted, "Somewhere along the way, I forgot that real conversation requires risk, not control." It was humble, sincere, but for many it came too late. Pam, meanwhile, continued her silence. She refused interview requests, declined offers to headline political panels, ignored the book deals, the networks, the profiles. Instead, she launched a digital series called The Listening Chair. No set, no applause, no punchlines. Just voices, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, veterans, people with stories, uninterrupted. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And that's why it worked. The first episode hit 2 million views in 3 days, and a comment pinned to the top read, "When Bondi stopped speaking, we finally heard her." Even rival media hosts acknowledged it. A former Colbert guest tweeted, "We all went on expecting the lights. She walked in with the mirror, hashtags shifted from mockery to respect." Bondi moment. Listening is power, redefining the room. It wasn't a political shift. It was a human one, because what Pam had revealed, without shouting, without spectacle, was a truth everyone felt but never said aloud, that sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the one with the punchline. It's the one who doesn't flinch when it's thrown, and answers with something far harder than wit: grace. Pam Bondi didn't change the game by playing louder. She changed it by refusing to play at all. In a world addicted to outrage, applause, and clever takedowns, she reminded us that strength doesn't always shout. It listens, waits, and answers once, with purpose. Stephen Colbert didn't fall because he was cruel. He fell because he assumed the audience would never stop clapping. But they did. And when they did, they heard something new. A voice that didn't beg for laughs. It simply asked to be heard. This wasn't a takedown. It was a shift. And once the room shifted, it didn't shift back. If this story moved you, subscribe for more stories where truth flips the narrative.